Hi and welcome to Empirical Banking and Finance. My name is Gregor Weiss. I'm a professor of finance here at Leipzig University, and in these videos I want to show you the basics and some select details of how to do an empirical analysis in banking and more generally in finance. In this first video I want to discuss the outline of this class, on what you can expect and what you can also use as additional material if you want to read on the topic of doing empirical research in financial economics, finance and/or banking. So this is the outline of this course. We start with a very general introduction to the admin stuff, and this will be in this video, and you can later skip that if you're not taking this class here at Leipzig. And in all other videos I want to talk about how to do empirical research in finance and/or banking. So we'll start with the very basic question of what is research question? Why should we need one? Why should we only need one research question and concentrate on answering that question in our empirical analysis? And we want to be able to distinguish what is a good research question and maybe a not so good research question. Maybe there are questions out there that shouldn't be answered or that are already answered, so we don't need any further research on it. In the next section, I'll talk about research design. If we have arrived at our research question, how do we design the best possible empirical analysis to answer that question? So it could be an experiment, it could be a laboratory experiment, it could be an empirical analysis using data from open databases, proprietary databases, and so on, and what statistical methodology we need to use on answering that particular research question. Now, I've already talked about databases, so because this is empirical banking and finance, we need data. We need good data, we need a lot of data, we need to understand where this data comes from, and that is the topic of the second section and a lot of videos that will follow. And after that, if we've taken out the data from databases or if we've done an experiment, we have to talk about what to do with the data at the very start. We need to clean the data, we need to show some descriptive statistics in order for readers to be able to see this is appropriate data, this is honest, true data that hasn't been falsified, that hasn't been fabricated, and we need to get an understanding of what is going on in our sample. So for example, if I were to ask people in a survey and the mean age would be 55, you would immediately see, okay, I did a survey among old people or mid-old people rather than asking questions to 20-year-old persons. So this is what is happening in section 3, and we'll also get to know some first plots to exemplify what is going on in the data, to visualize some first ideas of what we might expect as results. Now, we need to do more than just plotting the data and cleaning up the data, of course. So that's where we will start with very simple regression models, simple statistics, to analyze our main research question, and then move on from basic simple regression models in section 4 to more sophisticated statistical and econometric models. Because we need to show statistical significance, we need to talk about significance and standard errors. So this will happen in section 5. And throughout all videos, we'll always come back to the question, do we show causality, or are we actually only picking up correlation and we have no clue what is actually happening in the data? So it could be that basically A is driving B, it could be that B is reverse causing A, or it could be that we haven't looked at a third variable, C, that is actually driving A and B at the same time. So the question of causality, or more generally of identifying the causal link that we are trying to understand or we're trying to prove, this identification topic will be a topic in all these videos, but actually in section 6 it will be discussed in much more detail. And after showing what you wanted to prove, or maybe you have a negative result and you were not able to prove the hypothesis, then of course you need to show that if you switch out the data, if you change a little bit in the methodology, your results remain robust to these changes, so they remain unchanged, and it's not due to the way you've performed your empirical analysis. Thus, in every empirical work, we need to have robustness checks, and they come in section 7. And last but not least, we've compiled a list of the more typical data sources, but also of quite untypical and even strange sources of data that can be used in economics, but more generally in financial economics, finance and banking. So that will happen at the very end. That's the outline of this class, and I'll start with the course outline and the syllabus and the course organization. So if you're not taking this class in person, you might want to switch to and skip to the part where I shortly discuss the literature. Otherwise, this will probably not be of too much interest to you. So if you're taking this class here at Leipzig, this is a bachelor's level class in our Bachelor of Science in Economics. You're going to get 5 ECTS points, and the assessment is done by a seminar paper for which you will find more information on our Moodle class. And it consists of this online demand lecture, these videos you're just watching right now, and the 1-hour seminar in class. And that altogether forms our empirical banking and finance model. Now, the material you can download, for example, the slides and additional material from Moodle, and these videos, as you are probably aware of right now, they are up on YouTube. And if you have any questions, you can always direct your questions via email to our account here, lehre.banken at our faculty mail server, and you can always write me an email. If you're watching this from outside Leipzig, please feel free to give to leave your comments below the video, and I'm more than happy to engage with you on the topics of this class. Now, I've uploaded much more and many more videos on empirical banking, on finance, on risk management, and on the introduction to business. That one is in German. So if you're interested in these videos and you like them, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And if you want to receive some some job advertisements and some job postings, you can always go to this link here on these slides, and you can subscribe to our mailing list, and we'll relay the job advertisements and job postings, for example, internships, via our mailing list. Now, if you are more interested in the other lectures, you can go to the bachelor and master's classes we are offering. I'm not going into detail here. If you're taking this class at Leipzig, you're probably aware of what we are offering. It centers around banking, insurance, mathematics, and risk management more generally. And we also have some classes on sustainable finance and artificial intelligence and machine learning in finance. If you are interested in writing a bachelor's or master's thesis, you can scan this QR code and subscribe to our Moodle class, where we have some templates and some general information on how to write a thesis, and which templates in, for example, LaTeX or Word you can use. And this is all in this Moodle course, and you can get access by following this QR code. Now, this is more interesting to, I hope, everyone. There are excellent textbooks on empirical banking, empirical finance, and empirical work in economics in general. And I first want to point out this book by de Grese. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's de Grese, Kim, and Ongina. It's The Microeconometrics of Banking. It's a very good book that highlights some of the more complex and more sophisticated econometric models done on banking, because a couple of decades ago most of the empirical stuff being done on banking, on the banking sector, were just OLS regressions, and here you can clearly find more sophisticated methods from microeconometrics. So this is a very, very good starting point. Then, of course, if you're more interested in general econometrics, the Wooldridge is always a very good starting point. Introductory Econometrics by Jeffrey Wooldridge. It's an excellent textbook on econometrics, and probably everyone should have this at home if you're working in econometrics or if you want to use econometrics. And this is definitely a must-have. Not necessarily for this class, but if you're interested in reading up more on select topics. Green Econometric Analysis, the same. It's a very excellent textbook on econometrics in general. So every time you want to read up on certain tests, on certain ways how to do a specific econometric analysis, you should always look at the Wooldridge or the Green textbooks, and they will probably give you a satisfying answer. Now, when it comes to financial economics and financial markets, we also have this Campbell Lowe McKinley textbook, almost 30 years old. Probably there's a new edition out by now. The Econometrics of Financial Markets. It delves deeper into topics like, for example, the capital asset pricing model and asset pricing. So it has a slightly different focus than this class, but it also highlights many, many topics that we will also discuss here in these videos. And last but not least, Mostly Harmless Econometrics and Empiricist's Companion. You can actually download this from the internet for free, if I'm not very much mistaken. And this is Angrist and Pischke, Mostly Harmless Econometrics. Perfect textbook, especially because it concentrates on the problem of identification and how to deal with the identification settings and how to show causal relations in econometrics. So this is definitely a must read in this class and in these videos. Okay, so that's just a starting point for the literature. I think if you have a look at one or two of these textbooks, you're completely fine, but you should always come back to the textbooks if you're actually doing your thesis, if you're actually performing an empirical analysis, because in these cases you're bound to encounter some tests that you haven't heard it before, or that you don't know really how to use this test in this or that setting. So what are the main goals of this course? I want you to be able to evaluate empirical work in banking and finance. I want you to be able to understand a research paper at the very top in one of the top 3, top 5 journals in finance or economics, and to understand what is so good about them, maybe what is also bad about them, and to be able to use that knowledge to plan and design and perform your own first empirical analysis. For this to work, you need to know not just the details, but also common mistakes, common misconceptions in empirical finance and empirical work in general, and to get to know all these caveats, those common mistakes, to avoid them. No? It's quite simple. And yeah, of course, perform your own first empirical analysis and have some fun on the way to maybe completing your bachelor's or even master's degree. So this is what this course is about, what these videos will be about. And in the next video, we'll start with research questions and how to design your first research work. So thanks for watching, and I hope you stick to these videos, and see you in the next one. Bye.